When Avatar Frontiers of Pandora first came out, it's clear many people instantly compared it to, for example, a game like Far Cry, and I mean, it makes sense because it's made by Ubisoft, it's first person, it's open world, you're crafting gear and you're upgrading your character over time. The similarities are definitely there, but at the same time I think the comparison made some people just overlook what the game actually does well at. Because going back to it now, and especially after the updates it's had, in terms of the visuals and the map, it's one of the most impressive designs in a while. And the setting and the look of the game actually carries the game a lot, in my opinion. Back then, many people had mixed opinions about it. I'm sure there were lots who loved the atmosphere straight away, and I just think others who quickly just watched the trailers and gameplay and just thought it was a bit of a reskin of another generic game they've made. But now that the noise has died down a bit and the game has had more updates, including the third person mode and the Fire and Ash DLC, it's much easier to judge it for what it actually is. And if you're even remotely into the Avatar universe, this game does a pretty good job at capturing it all. And if you're looking for a game based on this franchise, then this one is more than likely going to take the top spot for that and provide the most. So the game takes place within the world of Avatar, as you may tell, but the story is separate from the movies. You still play as a Na'vi, one that was captured by the RDA from a young age and then eventually escaping. And straight away, the world is by far the strongest part of the game for me. Pandora looks amazing, genuinely. It's literally one of the best looking open worlds they've done in a while from just a visual perspective. All these really dense forest locations, floating mountains, and I love the glowing like neon plants at night time. Of course, the graphics also hold up and they help it as it's one of their more recent titles. But like I said, this part was my favourite part by far. So many times I just stop and look around to take it in. And the sound design as well, that helps a lot as well. The jungle always feels alive, hearing different creatures in the distance, and some plants actually react to your movement and others actually attack you with poison or electricity. There's waterfalls that are everywhere and the occasional rainstorm coming and going. It just never gets boring to me. Now gameplay wise, yes, there are a few points to mention, as well as the generic feeling complaints that people have come up with, because you're exploring the map, you're gathering resources and crafting gear. If you've played any Ubisoft open world games before, and quite a few, then the structure will feel familiar quite quickly, and that depends on the player. But I think this one feels a bit more immersive compared to their other recent games, because traversal and exploring is such a huge focus in this one. Running and crouch sliding across the map. And it definitely isn't flat, the terrain is always changing, you know? Climbing trees and mountains, which made parkour quite a big part. It was cool because you can pretty much climb anything, even when you think you can't. It's not very restricted. They also have the home tree, which is basically the hub of Pandora, and it's incredible in terms of just attention to detail and the cozy vibe it has. It's also massive, so at times it felt a bit like a maze to get around, especially when you have to find a certain character in there, and that's with using your senses they have. It's a bit hard to sort of navigate it all until you get used to it. And also when you unlock it, flying around makes it more fun as well and switches it up a bit if you do get bored on the ground for whatever reason. Combat is a bit mixed though. The bows and the more traditional primal weapons feel quite good to use and way more rewarding, as they're not as strong as firearms, of course, especially during stealth. Just sneaking through and picking enemies off in between bushes just fits the atmosphere quite well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of gun combat, it can sometimes feel a bit repetitive after a while, and I guess that depends on how much you try and switch it up by testing out other weapons and bows. I preferred hunting and stealthily taking down animals and people more than a full-blown gunfight, to be honest, and that says a lot. I never really care about that as much in other games. But the gun mechanics just feel quite basic and like pea shooters, because you don't feel the impact or anything. Not necessarily the time to kill, I mean that just depends on your difficulty. Overall, I think the combat isn't one of the main reasons to check it out, if that's what anyone was curious about. Now the main reason why I decided to check this out now was the updates they've had since launch, which can make players come back and bring new players in. The third person mode especially was the biggest one, because many people had asked for that before and wanted to actually see more of their character, and again it separates it from that Far Cry reskin talk, and it makes sense. I mean, it's a game based on an iconic character and species, but you don't actually get to see them in your own gameplay, and it just changes the feeling of it all. I mean, seeing your character moving through and seeing how the environment reacts to it, like the reactive plants I mentioned, and the From the Ashes DLC to tie it all in with the third film, Fire and Ash, was another big update, which moves the game forward 1 year, and you actually play as a totally different protagonist called Solek, and you you have the choice to transfer your original character over, and they will act as a companion. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I can't speak on my experience as I haven't actually played it. This is more of a base game review, but I thought I'd mention it as it's a new addition that's changed, and depending on how much you enjoyed the base game, then you can always move on to this one, and it has a bunch of new enemy types as well as locations. So it's definitely a better experience than what it was. It stands out a bit more. The same with bug improvements as well, I think, because most of the expectations are over now. It's way easier to just appreciate the game, especially if you're a fan of the movies, without others, you know, arguing over whether it's revolutionary or not, you know? Because it's obvious the game doesn't reinvent open world design, and yeah, if you already hate Ubisoft style games, then this won't fully change your opinion. But it's not a generic Ubisoft game in terms of the world and the exploration. I would say it's built around its setting for sure, and that's probably the main reason why they decided to go along with it. It just carries the entire game, and being given that Avatar licensing they had, it was just an excuse to make another big open world. I wouldn't say the story is going to fully grip people in. I mean, it's fine, it does enough to keep things moving, and there are some solid moments throughout it, but the world itself is much more memorable than the actual plot or the characters. And there's a lot of dialogue with other characters, and of course they all look the same and act the same, so it's easy to get a bit lost. So the pacing can become an issue after a bit of time. I think it works much better in smaller sessions rather than just trying to push through it all, but I think that's quite obvious. But similar to Hogwarts Legacy, as far as a modern Harry Potter or Avatar themed games go, then these are the most accurate ones you'll have and the best ones you know you're going to get from that universe. And getting to experience the fantasy of Pandora, it does a pretty good job in that sense. So I'd say definitely go check it out if you're a fan of that universe, if you're new to open worlds as well. Maybe not so much if you're drained from recent Ubisoft design or are looking for a gripping story or anything. But the main reason why I did this video was to also showcase what had changed since then, and just give a clear, non-biased review a couple years after. So if you were on the fence back then hopefully this video has given you a good idea to decide if you want to play it. I think just the world alone, it says it's much better than what a lot of people gave it credit for when it first came out. And that is where I end this review. If you did enjoy this video, let me know by tapping that like button down below. And if you enjoy single player and multiplayer games as well, then that's what this channel does focus on. I have many playlists on a selection of games, so you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. If you want to support me any further, you can become a member of the channel at either level 1 or 2 to gain access to various perks. Thank you all for the support, and if you drink G Fuel at all, you can use my code Cowsy at checkout to get a discount on your order. And that was Avatar Frontiers of Pandora in 2026, and bye bye.